Hey, it's Cody. Welcome to a video that a total of probably 3 people are going to appreciate. However, I am one of those 3 people, so I am making it, and I literally don't care how my videos do, as far as views and shit. Okay, so my idea for this video is I have selected one of my tarot decks. They are kind of in like a most used kind of pile-ish. And I have assigned each one of them to one of the 9 circles of hell from Dante's Inferno. Now, if this sounds fucking annoying, that's because it is. Yeah. So, all right, if anyone has watched my June Decks and Books video, when I asked if people were interested in my whole Dante's Inferno bullshit and the way that I'm like working with the book along with Paolo Barbieri's Dante's Inferno Oracle deck. This is not that video, okay? This is just also Dante's Inferno themed, so sorry. Okay, I have a red cloth here because we are of course in hell. This is the hellfire that we're burning in. I'm burning an additional hellfire because this is a cinnamon scented candle that someone gave me, and I fucking hate cinnamon, so we are off. If you don't know anything about Dante's Inferno, it's not like biblically canon, you know, or anything like that. Some guy in fucking, I don't even know what year, man, I probably should have looked it up before this, but wrote this. He'd made up how he imagined hell to be. He divided it into 9 different circles. And yeah, I mean, ultimately, the thing's a work of fan fiction, like... Okay, don't ask me to elaborate on that. Read it yourself. Okay, so, the first circle, if we are descending, is we are in Limbo. Now, the people that go in Limbo, according to Dante, are people who died, like, before Christianity was a thing, or like babies who died before they were baptized. Okay, wait. Massive trigger warning for like religious bullshit in this, okay? Just be aware. Okay, so the deck that I selected for Limbo is the Aquarian Tarot. Now, here, okay. This deck, I believe it came out before I was born. I think this is from the 70s. Is there, I think there's like the info on the card back. Nope, I made that up. Okay. Oh no, it's on the card front. Yeah, 1970. So this deck predates my existence by fucking 17 years, okay? Now, here, the reason this deck is in Limbo is because its only fault is that it was born before I, like, knew what I liked in a tarot deck. Okay? Like, it was... there's nothing actually wrong with it. I'm just not that into it. And yeah, I got this. I think I was probably under 20. I was probably 18 or 19. And I decided that I wanted a deck that had purple in it. And for some reason, I thought this had more purple. All I'd had was a Rider-Waite-Smith. Like, I don't even know which one of those. So... yeah, and I got this, and this was before, like, the internet was catering to anything like this, really. So it's not like you could look up a walkthrough or see what all the cards look like someplace. So I made a local metaphysical store order this in for me, and I have it. And literally, its only sin is that I just don't like it. I had ordered it just because I wanted something different, and I dislike this. So it gets to burn in hell for eternity, for being, you know, just bad timing, ultimately. Okay, our next circle of hell. Moving down, we are in Lust. Now, for Lust, I don't think anyone that knows anything about this deck will be surprised to see the Tarot of Vampires by Ian Daniels. This deck is very, very lustful, okay? It's, well, I say very, but like, there's a lot of lusty kind of shit going on. And honestly, I think I said in another video that, like, I did not even realize this about it. I was just like, woo, it's vampires, because I'm fucking stupid. And somebody else said it, and I was like, wait, there is? So, I mean, yeah, definitely. There were other decks that I could have put here, but this is an older, like, more commonly used deck for me, so yeah, this one is 100% lost. There's, like, look at this shit. Am I stupid? How did I look at this and not see it? Yeah. So that is our Circle of Lust. Some of these I have more to talk about, honestly, than others. Like the Tarot Vampires there is Lust. Pretty obvious. Okay, next up we have Gluttony. This is the Tarot Restless by Winslow Dumaine. Now, this is a first edition of the deck. I think that the third edition maybe is out now, or maybe even past that. But, yeah, I don't know what's different in this edition versus, like, newer ones. Okay, so I selected this deck for Gluttony. This deck just has a very... I mean, honestly, I probably could have put this in any of the circles. Let's being realistic here. It's very... Okay. The guidebook that goes with this deck it's short stories. And the whole thing is set in, like, a future, like an apocalyptic sort of future where humans are no longer fertile. They can't die. They can't... Like, if you were pregnant when this, like, thing happened, when the curse was given from the gods or whatever, then you're just pregnant forever. And it's, yeah, this deck is really something, and it's sort of set in a way that, like, humans have destroyed the earth and they deserve this punishment for being, like, gluttonous. And so... This deck, it's just really, it's excessive in, like, I almost should have gotten the guidebook for this, but even just looking at the artwork, I think you can kind of see it's just, you know, humanity's bullshit landed them here, and we're here now, and it's just, like I said, the excess of this, the entire idea of... Jesus, not even listening to what I'm saying. The entire idea of, like, the groundwork, the base layer of this deck is humans' gluttonous ass nature. So, yeah, this one 100% is the deck that I put in Gluttony. Like I said, like, you're gonna see kind of, I think, that quite a few of these actually could have gone in several of them. Put this guy. You know what? I'm going to put this guy away. Because I'm going to have enough of a mess after this. Okay. Next, we have Greed. Now, Greed is... the deck I selected for the Circle of Greed is the Raven's Prophecy Tarot. Now, yeah, I know this deck is absolutely in shit shape, okay? I don't need to hear about it. This card is an extra card that came with, like, a special edition of one of the books that these card decks are based on. So, the reason that I have selected this for Greed, okay, it's not really the deck's fault, it's more how I interact with it. And the issue is... sometimes this deck is actually difficult for me to read with. Like, okay, this deck is connected to a 4-book series written by Maggie Stiefvater, who also, like, created and did the artwork for this deck. And the sheer amount of information in that book and things that happen, like, tarot cards are actually part of the storyline in that book. And the way that these cards can definitely be read if you haven't read the books, but reading the books gives you, like, it connects all of these cards to scenes or, you know, themes or characters within the book. And, like, 4 books, that's a lot of information, right? And when I read with this deck, it tends to pull in things from the books, as well as the guidebook and my own knowledge of tarot. And it's a greedy little fuck, and that it's always pulling in extra things. Like, you can't, it's like shadow work, right? You see one thing you want to fucking pick up and look at, and it just, a whole fucking spider web of bullshit comes up with it. Like, that's the way this deck functions for me. Now, it's a personal thing. I think I have, like, over-connected things in my brain, but, like, the way that it works for me is, this is a deck I really have to be ready to, like, think about in a huge, like, sprawling way, just because of my connections, with the way that it relates to the book. I don't know if I'm making sense, okay? I don't know if that made sense to anyone. Yup. So that, yeah. Okay. Now, next for Wrath, I have chosen the Ritual Tarot. Now, Wrath is like anger, right? Now, this is the perfect card to be on the top of this deck for this. Now, I don't know if this deck is particularly angry or wrathful. It's been my experience of it that it likes to give me cards around, like, political situations. Again, this is another deck that could have gone in several circles of hell. But the way that this deck works, I mean, it has given me 10 of Swords, the Tower, like, 3 of Swords. It likes to give me the negative cards. And I feel like this deck feels my anger about a lot of shit. And it answers me in that way. It's the energy of it that sort of feels that way to me. Okay? I don't want anyone being like, I don't think that the Ritual Tarot is an angry deck in my fucking comments. Okay? I know. That's fine. You can think whatever you want, right? But for me, the way that this deck has been functioning, the way that I have been using it, it feels like a wrathful deck. And I go to it for that. Like, I appreciate that about it. So this deck is in burning. I believe this one is burning in a boiling river of blood. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Heresy. Oh shit, wait, let me put this. Now, Heresy is sort of, like, a lot of these circles kind of overlap, ultimately. Like, even like, within the actual poem. So, I went with the Marielle Tarot. And the reason I selected this for Heresy is simply because of its use of Christian, like, mythological imagery, right? If you get into the guidebook of this deck, there is a lot going on about, I think it's loosely based on the Book of Revelations. And so you wind up kind of in this space where you're looking at Christian sort of ideas or imagery, and stories and thought processes and bullshit, but it's twisted on itself in a way that I'm sure that Christians would not fucking appreciate. And so, yeah, this was actually the first deck that I thought of. When I thought of this, I was like, this deck would go in fucking Heresy. And then I was like, you know what? I bet I have decks that would go in all 9 of the circles. So, yeah, 100% Heresy deck right here. Oh my god. Don't turn me in for that. Fucking don't report this video over that card you just saw. Okay, move on. Okay, we only have 3 more, and I feel like a couple of these I have to explain more than others. Okay, Violence, I have picked fucking Deviant Moon. This deck, readings that it gives me are a form of violence. Like, to me, this deck is sarcastic, but it's like, it's very straightforward. It does not mind if it hurts my feelings. Like, if this deck could stab me, it would do it. I don't know if anyone else has that experience of this deck, but Man, and honestly, that's why I come to this deck. Like, I am here to get stabbed. Yeah. This was the second deck I thought of, because I was like, would this work? Could I do decks that would fit into Dante's 9 Circles of Hell? And I was like, obviously, Marielle's Heresy. Would anything else work? And my eyes immediately went to my shelf and looked at Deviant Moon. I was like, that shit is a violence. So, yeah. Feel free to argue with me in the comments if you disagree on, you know, where I've put them or whatever. Okay, so, next is Fraud. Okay, this one is in this Circle of Hell for multiple reasons. Okay, first I have to say that there's the 9 Circles of Hell within the poem Inferno, but some of them are actually broken down into smaller, like, sections within that circle. So one of the forms of fraud, I think there's 10, or is it the one that has 3? Fuck, I don't even remember. Okay, don't quote me, don't get mad. Okay, at first I had just selected a regular old Rider-Waite-Smith. And then I realized that there's a second layer to using specifically the Wiser Tarot. Okay, so within the poem Inferno, one of the types of people that end up in the Circle of Fraud are like psychics, fortune tellers. And so, I mean, obviously, it's kind of one of those things where tarot in general belongs in the Fraud Circle of Hell. But that's not all. My other issue is, okay, this deck, let's look at the year here. So I know I'm so annoying with this shit, right? I'm always like, let's see what year this came out. I don't know why. I'm always like that. Okay. All right. This came out in 2022. Now, let's talk for a minute about Rider-Waite-Smith. Now, it has long been a conversation about how tarot decks are very white. Okay? And there was a lot of shit going on around 2016. Donald Trump became fucking president. White supremacists were parading in the street. George Floyd's death, his murder, rather, and the Black Lives Matter kinds of things started happening in 2020. And it was a conversation that I think a lot of people were having. And some decks were coming out that were much more diverse. I have a deck, fuck, I probably should have grabbed it, but I did not. Now, it's called the Melanated Tarot? Fuck. Shit. You know what? I actually don't remember exactly what it's called, but these, I will put a link to the site where you can get this other deck in the description box. So if you want to look at it, I have mentioned it in other videos too. Now, this is a Rider-Waite-Smith clone that's been fully redrawn, and the artist and creator has made everyone is black. And I got that deck. I actually don't remember what year I got that deck, but I will say it definitely came out before the Wiser Tarot. So, and that's not the only deck like that, right? Like it's been a thing that people of color have been making decks, and including, you know, a much more diverse cast of like people within the artwork of the cards. And when Wiser Tarot then later, after a bunch of the stuff had been happening, independent sort of artists coming out with these decks and things, for in 2022, Wiser Books to just shove this shit out here with just randomly recolored people, like this deck was sent to me for review by Wiser Books, so that is the reason that I have this. It feels, it does not feel like a genuine attempt at a more inclusive sort of space. It was after, it was like, it was too far after the fact. You know what I mean? The time when it would have mattered, the time when this would have been a more important thing to come out had kind of passed by then. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't feel legitimate. Like, this was not a heartfelt attempt. It was like, oh, These fuckers want to see, like, different skin colors in their cards? Here you go. So, for that reason, this deck also is in fraud for that reason, too. So, it's not just the psychic thing. It's also the way that I kind of don't feel very good about this deck. I have actually tried to give this deck away a couple times, and it has not worked. Okay, the final circle of hell is Treachery. Okay, this is not the deck's fault. It is my own feelings about using the deck. And that is the old-ass Antique Anatomy Tarot by Claire Goodchild of Black and the Moon. Now, the reason that I say this is Treachery is because this is the old, like, original version, okay? This was, like, the first one, okay? Now, other versions of this has come out. There's been mass market, there's been an ephemera edition, there have been updates to the artwork, there have been, like, colored flowers added to this, and minors and majors. Like, this deck has all been redone, and it's a very different thing. This is almost more like a prototype, maybe. The reason this feels like Treachery is for two reasons. The first is because you can't get this deck anymore. And I always feel bad, like, if someone sees me using a deck and they're like, what deck was that? I always, like, feel this little stab of, like, guilt, just because, like, you can't get it anymore if it's a deck that's out of print or something. So it feels treacherous to be using this, but also, Claire is a good friend of mine, and I think it would piss her off, honestly, to see that this is still the Antique Anatomy Tarot that I reached for. It's fucking treacherous, okay? Like, I feel like I should be, you know, using the newest one, but man, this one just hits a certain way for me. And, like, if she sees this video, she's gonna be like, bitch, what are you doing? But, you know, that's just the treachery of it, okay? So, sorry. If you want this deck, that's too fucking bad because it is out of print. Yeah. So, that's not supposed to be in the middle of the deck. So this is the deck that represents Treachery to me. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with the deck, and it has everything to do with me personally. So, that has been our little tarot wander through Dante's 9 Circles of Hell. So I was thinking about, like, what Circle of Hell would I end up in? I mean, fraud would make sense because of the tarot reading, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like a lot of them would work for me personally. Like, can they have, like, joint custody of you? You have to go to one. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that you can catch me in Wrath. I will say that I'm not gonna be one of, like, the sullen or whatever that's, like, sadly floating under the water. I will be up fighting somebody. Like, I will be up swinging. You know what I mean? So, when you guys get to Hell, you know, stop by, yell hi. Oh, the devil. And, yeah, I'm not positive, but I am pretty sure that you can catch me in Wrath. Thanks for watching, bye.